Look at my belts, yeah. I'm not overcompensating for anything.
Like a cat like crying. What's up everyone? My name is Larry. Welcome to Larry and His Belts, and today we're gonna do something a little different. Sometimes the WWE shop just isn't cutting it. Now don't get me wrong, the WWE shop does have a lot of great belts. You can't find a better WWE Network logo than the WWE shop. Keep an eye open for those sales on WWE shop, because if you can catch a good sale, getting those belts are well worth it. So as you know, my WWF Winged Eagle was made by an overseas belt maker named Mohammed Nawaz. And don't want to repeat myself, but it's my favorite replica. The quality is amazing, especially for the price. A big reason that I had to go overseas is because the WWE shop belt that they had of the Winged Eagle just wasn't good. It was a flat plate. WWE shop is known for having the not so best leather. It's pretty stiff. Now the quality in terms of like the etching and everything, the leather is always top notch with WWE shop. And for display, it's always stiff enough to be able to, like, you know, display your belt on a desk or some form of fashion. But in regards to putting it around your shoulder, you know, on your shoulder, putting it around your waist, you have to, you know, get it a little more flexible, you know, wear it more often, you know, keep it folded, keep it around your waist, you know, so it always has to do something like that. With that being said, many of you know that there are a lot of belt makers overseas, specifically in Pakistan. They do everything they can to convince you to buy one of their belts, and then you end up buying a belt that's just absolute garbage. So guys, with that being said, I'm gonna give you 5 tips. Shout out Booker T, sucker! I'm gonna give you 5 tips to follow if you're going to buy a bootleg belt from overseas or Pakistan or any other place that isn't WWE shop. Let's jump into it. Tip number 1 is actually probably one of the most important, if not the most important factor in buying a belt overseas, and that's social media activity. A majority of good belt makers have Facebook groups, and not just Facebook groups, they might have Instagram pages as well. I have noticed that a lot of Instagram pages aren't as active, so I think, in my personal opinion, the most important thing is a Facebook group. When you're on their Facebook group, you can tell if they're a popular belt maker by the many members that they have, where they have 1,000 members, 2,000 members. And not just that, if you get on their page and you join their page, you can actually see the customer feedback. You'll see people's belts that were made, belts that were already made. You can see people either praising or dissing the belt maker, or just any form of reputation building on their page. Most good pages also have a middleman or a mod that are able to communicate to the actual main belt maker. Sometimes if it's in Pakistan, translation issues might occur, and that's something that you really don't want to, you know, get any mix-ups in your belt. You don't want to order an NXT belt and you end up getting the old NXT when you're wanting to get this baby right here. So back to the Facebook groups. You join a Facebook belt group and you look at all the pictures that they have. You see if they've made a bunch of belts. You can look at the quality of the belts. Is the leather cuts good? The Facebook group is a good way for you to look at all the work that they've done and for you to be able to see if those are the right belts that you want to have. I'll be honest, some people out there, even though they're popular, they don't make good belts. There's a lot of people that try to make the Winged Eagle and they just don't have the dimensions right, or they don't have the leather cut right, or even the plates, you know. There's just a lot of things that might not be right about the belt. So it's good to be able to see a belt maker. It's always good to be able to see a belt maker's work so you can judge it on that. And like I was saying before, the most important thing is customer feedback. If you could go on this person's page and all the customers are going, I just got this belt and it's absolutely gorgeous, thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. Or man, this guy, blah, 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 or girl has done it again. My belt is beautiful. I can't wait to order another belt. Those are the type of belt makers that you want to do business with. If there is a belt maker out there that does not have a Facebook group, I would first question that, because you're going, why am I going to order from this guy who is probably offering you a really cheap price belt? I mean, I've had people say, hey, I'll make you a Winged Eagle for 150 bucks. And it's like, is it zinc? Oh yeah, it's zinc. It's just like it, you know? And then they'll show me a picture, and the picture will be a picture from WWE Shop. And using that as a segue, that's gonna go on to my next point, pictures. If any belt maker uses a stock WWE picture as a display of their belts, don't even second look. Don't even second guess. That belt maker is not legit. There's still like a cool factor in getting a belt that's been made by someone's bare hands, you know? It might have a special touch to them. My Winged Eagle, there's different things that aren't completely accurate compared to the WWF, WWE Eagle, but there's just something about it that I just really love. I love the touch of quality that Nawaz made with his belt. So that's always good to be able to see someone's work and see what they do right, what they do not so right, or do something that might be better. Like, oh, I liked how you cut this leather compared to the WWE Shop. I actually like that. So can you do that for my belt? And then go from there. If anyone goes, oh yeah, I can make you a belt, and then they're like, okay, could you make me the NXT belt? Sure. And then they send you this picture, then it's like, no, because if you're not showing me your work, then your work is not good enough to be shown. So if, once again, if anyone uses any other pictures other than their own belts, do not buy for them. Which goes on to number 3, communication. If you are not able to communicate with the belt maker, that's kind of a problem. If you are not able to communicate with the belt maker's middleman or one of their mods, that's a problem. You should be able to communicate with these belt makers. And when I mean communicate, I mean talk about everything. You want to talk about prices, you want to talk about timing and time frame of when the belt is going to be done. You want to talk about updates. You want to be able to ask the belt maker any questions that you have. For example, as obvious, how much is your belt? How long is it going to take to make my belt? How long is it going to take to ship my belt? And another belt maker, if they're a good belt maker, they'll send you updates every few weeks. When Nawaz was making my belt, he would give me a picture update every week, every other week during that 8-week time. And that's important because the belt maker is communicating with the customer. Really quick, I hope I didn't say patient during this whole video. I work in the medical field, so I'm used to saying patient and not customers. So if I say patient, my bad. It's really important and shows great customer service for a belt maker to keep update and contact with the customer. And what's even better is if they have a lot of customers and they're still able to keep up with those updates, that means you've picked the right belt maker. You want to ask them specific details about the belt. And if you don't know about the belt, go to WWE Shop and that's all, folks. If you want, just go to www.shop.com and then it'll tell you the dimensions, how big the plate is, how long the belt is. I made the mistake one time of purchasing a replica belt from somebody, and I won't name them at this time, but I looked at the belt, I loved the belt, I told them I wanted it, bought it, sent it to me, and the belt was smaller than the women's title. It was almost like a child's belt. It didn't even fit on my waist, and I'm not really a big guy, you know. I can, you know, I've got a regular average size waist. I mean, it's not like I'm huge, right? I can't jump that high. But I mean, all my belts fit perfect. This belt didn't even fit on the first, first snap. And it's partially my fault. But on the other hand, if you're buying a replica from somebody, then you want a replica, right? So you want to make sure that it's at least somewhat accurate to the size. Some belts are a little smaller, like my Fandu Big Gold. That's a little smaller than the actual Lux full replica belt. But I mean, that belt is gigantic. So dimensions are huge. You ask them, will it fit a 45 to 50 inch waist? Are the plate size somewhat similar to what the plate size are in real life. You don't want to go less than like 1 to 2 inches if it's a little bit smaller. Or if you're really looking for some accurate, you want the exact measurements. If the big gold is 13 inches tall, the plate in terms of, and they say it's smaller, then you either got to look at the price and weigh it out, go, well, I'm only paying this amount of money, so I guess I can deal with it. Or you go, no, that doesn't cut it for me. I don't want the belt. So dimensions are a big factor. Make sure you are getting the belt that you want. And lastly, YouTube videos. See if anyone has reviewed their belts. There's a lot of belt makers out there, and a lot of people have reviewed their belts. It's just like WWE Shop. If I clicked right now and I wanted to upgrade this toy belt and get a WWE NXT Heavyweight Championship belt, I go to YouTube, I type in NXT replica belt, and boom, everyone puts up their belts, and I get to choose and look at all the belts and see, okay, that's what I want, then cool. It's the same thing with belt makers that are overseas. You know what? I keep saying overseas, but there are belt makers in the US. Bottom line is, if you're gonna buy from a belt maker that is not known, make sure that they have some form of YouTube page so you can look at reviews. Nawaz has a ton of them. Fight Night Belts have a lot of them. Go to YouTube, and if they don't have a video, you might want to question that. It's all about weighing it out, you know? If someone is selling you a belt for 250 bucks, and the quality is way better than WWE Shop. I remember WWE, it sounds like a robot. WWE, WWE, WWE. If someone's selling you a belt for 250 bucks and they have no reviews, and they have no Facebook group, and they have no customer reputation, customer feedback, what does that tell you? That they are either a new belt maker and they're trying to get their name out there, but 9 times out of 10, they're probably a scam artist. And trust me, most of you guys on Instagram that know me, there are a lot of belt scammers out there, and they'll try to take your money. So you got to be careful. And speaking of that, going back to the communication factor, that's a big thing too when it comes to talking about price. How do they accept money? For me, I've done everything from PayPal to MoneyGram, but it's preferred to do PayPal because if something happens, then PayPal could kind of help you out with that money. You send money Western Union, you send money MoneyGram, and money is sent, that money is gone. So if you find or talk to someone who has just accepting Western Union or MoneyGram, and they're not a trustworthy person, that money might be gone, and so is your belt. So yeah, guys, let's just do a quick rewind. Number 1, active social media, specifically Facebook groups. Make sure they have an active Facebook group with a lot of customer feedback. And we have pictures of the belts. If they do not have their own pictures and they're using WWE Shop pictures or other popular belt makers pictures, that is a no-go and you stay away. Communication, are they easily accessible? Can you talk to them about pricing, time of belt making, to almost any form of conversation in regards to belts and belt making? If they are accessible, whether it's them or their middleman, then that's a good sign. Dimensions, make sure that dimensions of your belt are accurate and they are the dimensions that you want before you purchase any form of belt. And like what you're doing right now, YouTube videos. If there's not a reviewer like me that is reviewing their belts, then you might want to reconsider having another more established belt maker make your belts. To just throw in a few little details, now if you do interact with a belt maker and they start breaking promises, that's not a good sign either, and I've dealt with people like that. Keep them on their word. I almost feel that if they don't have a reputation to go by, then you need to be very, very strict with your demands. If someone isn't a popular belt maker and they want to sell you a belt, then, you know, make a list of things that you want. Go, okay, I'm only going to pay like 50% up front, and then when I see the belt finished and I get a tracking number, then I will send you the rest of the money. So, you know, something like that. Or if they say they're going to make their belt in 8 weeks, which is 2 months, if your belt is not made and finished and sent to you in 8 weeks, then that could be an issue too. You know, there's a lot of demands when in regards to getting belts and getting belts made for you. So if it's not a popular belt maker, be a little strict. You know, it might sound a little bad, but you know, these people are going to be a ticket. Not only are these people making you a belt, but if they are a low-end belt maker or a belt maker trying to get their name exposed, you're helping them as well, especially if you make reviews. So, you know, you don't have to be a mean or be a jerk about it, but you know, be prompt and be strong with, you know, your belt. You're spending your hard-earned money on these belts, and these belts, this is not a cheap hobby. So you want to make sure that you're getting your money's worth. All right, guys, I hope those tips helped you out a lot. There are a few belt makers that I'll shout out in another video, because there's plenty of belt makers that are great, and there's plenty of belt makers that are not. So maybe in a future video, if I get enough of a response in this video, I'll put out a list of belt makers that you might want to consider and belt makers that you might want to stay away from. But guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you do like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more wrestling content, from wrestling belts, wrestling toy belts, predictions, reviews, whatever the case is, all about pro wrestling, WWE, AEW, Impact, New Japan, whatever the case is, NWA. It's all pro wrestling. It's all great. I am not prejudiced towards any wrestling as long as it's good. But anyways, guys, once again, thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope it did help you. If you do have any questions, go check out my Instagram. You could send me a DM there and we could discuss more things about it, and could help you out with getting some belts made for you guys. Can't talk anymore. Might as well end this video. All right, guys, we'll see you soon. Check out my other videos, and good luck with your belt shopping. Peace, baby. Boom.